Hey guys, what's up? It's Greg Trzavosty for this installment of the Hodgepod for Cinematics, Hodgepod number 6. We have 2 sets of interviews. First off is my interview with C. Thomas Howell. He's the star of both films 1 Mile Chapter 1 and 1 Mile Chapter 2. Finally, Eric Holmes has an interview with Antonio Muñoz De Mesa, and he is the filmmaker behind Santa Zeta. And that is a movie, Santa Zeta, by the way, that Eric Holmes really, really loves. Yes, the full name is Antonio Muñoz De Mesa. More on that in a few moments. Regarding 1 Mile Chapter 1 and 1 Mile Chapter 2, here is the official plot summary. Eric and I did the review last week on Cinematics, but it's available on digital right now. For some reason on YouTube, when Eric and I did the review, it got some pretty good views out of everything else from last week. And it's funny because these were the movies. Both of these films, I thought they would give us the lowest views as far as, it's weird how you just never know. And I guess these 2 movies are popular because people love this B-rated action thriller type of stuff. It stars Ryan Phillippe and, of course, the aforementioned C. Thomas Howell. Here's a plot summary. Quote, Ryan Phillippe stars as a former Special Forces operative trying to reconnect with his teenage daughter during a college road trip. When an unexpected detour puts them in the sights of a secretive, off-the-grid community, his daughter is taken away, and the trip erupts into a high-octane fight for survival. Now, the leader of this off-grid community is played by C. Thomas Howell. And both of these movies, without giving too much away, it leads to an inevitable showdown between Ryan Phillippe, the former Special Forces op, and the C. Thomas Howell character. And both Eric and I liked it. And I'm going to put the Amazon link in our show notes. Maybe some of you have already seen it. And it was really cool. I've never interviewed C. Thomas Howell before. Before we get to Santa Zeta, just a very quick anecdote about this. Back in the day, I forgot what year That Night was released. I think it was in the early 90s, okay? In the early 90s, I used to work for this guy named Joey Berlin. Yeah, That Night was released in 1992. When I was at UCLA, I graduated class of 93 from UCLA. I was interning with Joey Berlin at the time, and Joey Berlin was the creator of the Critics' Choice Awards. I'm sure a lot of you know what the Critics' Choice Awards are. And every month, or I think it was every week, we would do a video review show. And he would give me a whole bunch of VHS tapes for me to go over and pull out a soundbite from each of the movies that he gave me, each of these VHS movies that he gave me, because he would be writing up movie reviews for each of these 30 films. Not 30 films, just a handful of stuff. And I guess maybe I would get a stack of VHS tapes every single week. I'd go to his house, get it, and eventually I would get to keep a bunch, and he'd keep a lot of them, of course, because he's doing a lot of the production work and the reviews. But I would be pulling these sound bites. I would be watching a lot of these movies too. One of the movies that I was so surprised, and I did not want to watch this movie back in the day, it was That Night. 89 minutes, 1992, starring C. Thomas Howell, directed by Craig Bulletin, and it stars Juliette Lewis, Helen Shaver, and Eliza Dushku. I don't know if it's Eliza Dushku's first film. Katherine Heigl's in it. Here's the thing. I remember back in 92 watching it and was absolutely blown away by this movie. And I haven't seen it since. It's been, 33, 34, around 33, 34 years since I saw the movie on VHS. And before I was going to do the interview with C. Thomas Howell, I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if he mentioned this obscure film called That Night? And towards the end of this very quick interview I did with C. Thomas Howell, he mentions the movie That Night. It's currently, I'm looking right now, you can rent or purchase it on Prime Video. It's streaming on this service called Plex. I've never used Plex, but check out this interview with C. Thomas Howell as he talks about 1 Mile Chapter 1, 1 Mile Chapter 2, and then also he recommends towards the end That Night. Very interesting stuff, at least for me. Wondering if you guys have ever heard of this movie or seen it as well. And that night is a movie that I was so impressed by it in 92. I would like to do a rewatch and see if it still holds that magic for me. Now, the second interview is with Eric Holmes and his chat with Antonio Muñoz De Mesa. Apologize for the mispronunciation. He is the filmmaker behind Santa Zeta. Now, Santa Zeta recently screened at the Slamdance Film Festival over at Slamdance. Now, from until March 6, 2026, it is streaming online at the Slamdance channel, slamdancechannel.com. So I don't specifically know. I've not gone to slamdancechannel.com. I don't know if you have to pay a premium to watch it, but just know for more information on Santa Zeta, go to slamdancechannel.com. It's streaming there. And Santa Zeta also has its own website. And I'm going to put the santazeta.com link on our show notes so you have further information on this film. The important thing about this interview is Eric Holmes is very passionate about this movie and high recommendations. Unfortunately, this week on Cinematics, we won't be able to talk about it. Wait, no, actually, he will be able to talk about it because the embargo is lifted. The Slamdance screenings are already over, and now it's currently streaming on slamdancechannel.com. So this week, for our weekly Cinematics episode, we will be covering the movie's undercard. I reviewed that. I'm going to review that. This movie called Operation Taco Gary's. Don't know. I told Eric to get onto this and watch it because it's a silly movie. Don't know if he's going to get around to it, but I have those two movies to review. Finally, Bruce Porky has a review on Mistress Dispeller. It's a new release featured on the Criterion channel as we speak. All right, so that is that for this intro, very long-winded intro for these two sets of interviews. First up, again, C. Thomas Howell for 1 Mile Chapter 1 and 1 Mile Chapter 2. Last but not least is Antonio Muñoz De Mesa for Santa Zeta. And yeah, finally, as far as movie picks, De Mesa mentioned one of his all-time favorite movies is The Third Man. I remember having a Blu-ray of The Third Man way back in the day, and I traded it in for either cash or maybe more DVDs. I do that quite often. And I looked on Amazon to say, hey, maybe I should just purchase it. I think the DVD was around around $50. And I go, okay, well, maybe a little bit high price for that one. But then there's a multi-format, The Third Man from Criterion on Amazon. It's listed at $252. So I messaged Bruce and Eric that if you have a Criterion disc, if you have collected Criterion Blu-rays or DVDs over the years, I'm sure you can put them up on eBay and sell them for a pretty price if they're out of print. But all that said, sometimes maybe it's better to keep them because physical media is going it feels like it's going the way of the dodo bird, and Criterion and holding on to some of your discs, it might be worth a lot in the future or right now. And I'm sure even the most diehard cinephiles won't even sell it, right? You won't even sell your discs, even if they're worth several $100 and you got it maybe for $20 or $30. But anyways, that's that. And hopefully you'll get some value added stuff from this Hodgepod. I'm going to stop speaking, listen to C. Thomas Howell first, and then again, Antonio Muñoz De Mesa. I apologize for me stammering in this intro. Take care, guys. Bye.
Hey, Greg.
Pleasure to meet you.
You as well, man.
So this is a very interesting film because your villain has a lot of layers to him. Can you just talk about bringing that to the project? Because he has a couple of salient points regarding his motivations, I suppose, without giving too much away, I guess, maybe. Yeah.
Well, no, I that was what attracted me to the piece. Playing a guy that does bad things that's not necessarily a bad guy was very attractive. A lot of times the heavy in a movie is, a sociopath or somehow socially disconnected from the rest of the world and capable of doing these evil things for the sake of being evil. But that wasn't the case with Stanley. He's a leader of a off-grid culture that is on the brink of extinction for various different reasons, and he'll do whatever it takes to help that sustain and survive. And it's those instincts that drive him to do the things that he does, which in this case as kidnapping and other things. But there's still a sense of humanity and love and care in this guy's heart. He's not heartless. And that was important to me when I approached the character to not sort of go beyond the means of the expectations of a writer and, quote unquote, play the bad guy.
Yeah, I really love the visuals in this movie. It's shot in a beautiful location. Adam was talking about how the story itself is a story about survival, right? But then he was saying shooting on Vancouver Island was a survival in and of itself for the cast and crew. What did he mean by that, and how would you elaborate?
So, it was a bit like a Carol Ballard film in that we dealt with all kinds of elements, whether it was, rain, rough terrain, lakes, waters, oceans, whatever it was. We were soaking wet most of the time, even though it doesn't look like it's raining all the time there. But for me, those elements became a character in the film. And I really appreciate that experience overall, because first of all, it really grounds you and puts you into a very authentic space when you're working in the mountains on Vancouver Island and you're playing a survivalist. So for me, I was a fish in water versus Ryan Felipe's character, which may have been a fish out of water. And the two of us had some things in common, even though we're very different people. We both are there to do whatever it takes to make sure the ones that we love survive. And from that aspect, I think it's a very interesting match between the two. He plays a special forces character with a history of being well-trained, hand-to-hand combat, weaponry. I play a guy that's a survivalist, a hunter, works well with knives, hand-to-hand combat, bows and arrows, different kinds of guns. But, they're trained very differently, but they're both formidable for each other. And that's a beautiful thing.
You mentioned the word authentic, and no matter what genre you've covered over the years, I always feel that your performances, your acting and your roles are very authentic and locked in. Several years ago, when you made that travel as a singer-songwriter, I listened to the album, and Damn Good Man last year, there's an authenticity to it. How does one stay authentic and you feel like you're always in that pocket? Is that an oversimplification? But how do you stay in that pocket with no matter what you do?
It's a funny thing, really, to be honest, because you can't teach taste, right? You can't teach experience. I don't know what makes somebody more likable as an artist than somebody else. But for me, I try to stay true to myself. When I stop trying to be validated by other people, when I stopped trying to please other people, and I really started pleasing myself from an artistic standpoint. And I don't mean selfishly, I mean spiritually, I mean professionally, being able to know the difference between a good take or a bad take, whether it's singing or acting or whatever that is. I don't feel the need to go up to a director and say, oh, is that working? Are you happy? Do you like it? I know when I'm happy and I know when I'm not happy. And that burden that I carried as a young artist, as a teenager, which I think we carry even when we're not artists as teenagers. We're looking to belong. We're trying to find ourselves. We want to be liked by the cool club. We want to be, embraced socially so bad as a teenager. Well, you go through that again as an artist. You just want to be embraced so bad, and you care and you want to please people and you want to be liked. And once you can get rid of all that baggage, it doesn't matter what you're doing artistically. If you're pleasing yourself, then it becomes deeper, it becomes spiritual, it becomes personal, it becomes profoundly moving. And then it doesn't matter anymore if someone else likes it or doesn't like it, or if it's successful or not. You've grown as an artist, you've grown as a human being, and I'm sharing that with the rest of the world. And genuinely, if it's authentic and it's truthful and it comes from my heart, and the more personal I can make something, the more universal it becomes, and the more other people can relate to it. And that's been the best discovery of my journey artistically along the way.
On that discovery, when people are looking at your resume, can you name a project or a film or television project that you feel might have been underrated or overlooked that you would like them to personally see and go on that discovery with you?
There's a movie I made when I think I was probably 20 years old for Warner Brothers with Juliette Lewis. It's called That Night. It's a wonderful movie, and it was drastically underappreciated. It was Eliza Dushku's first film, Katherine Hagel's first film. Juliette Lewis just came off of Cape Fear. She's one of the most raw, emotionally provocative actresses that I've ever worked with. And I really love that film a lot. And not a lot of people have seen it.
I love that film so much. Thank you so much for your time. And before I let you go, I still remember as a kid reading The Outsiders for the first time and then actually learning about it in school, S.E. Hinton and whatnot. And now in my mid 50s, I learned about the Stay Gold Foundation and how can you just talk about it, the importance of reading and literacy? And it just makes a big impact. And thank you for that, by the way.
Well, at 59, it's time to give back. And about a year ago, my wife came up with this brilliant idea of forming the nonprofit, the Stay Gold Foundation, which allows me to use The Outsiders as a platform to travel around the country, speaking to students and teachers at schools and holding seminars and screenings of the film and raising money to put kids through school with scholarships and sending books across the country and school supplies, and really stressing the importance of literacy and trying to get them to get off their devices for 5 minutes and be moved or motivated or even potentially find something in a book that can change them personally. And, reading and writing is something that goes hand in hand with the arts. Kids don't even know what cursive writing is anymore. They're spelling everything with their thumbs. And one day I was just at a restaurant with my wife looking at a family of 5, including the little toddler, and everybody was on their devices and nobody even had 30 minutes to spend with each other and share a moment and communicate at dinner, So we came up with the foundation, and we find great joy in traveling and connecting with youngsters and sharing stories and the importance of reading and writing, and the fact that S.E. Hinton was 15 years old when she began writing that book. And most of these kids are 13, 14, 15 when I'm reaching out to them. So I think it's very motivating. And the fact that somebody can take a minute that has had the experience that I have had over the years and reach out to a young person and let them feel seen and heard and understood has a lot of value. And I'm hoping that it makes, the impact and the difference that I believe that it does.
And thank you so much for your time. Love both of these movies.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate you, man.
It's Antonio Muñoz De Mesa.
That's it.
Okay. I'm here with Antonio Muñoz De Mesa, writer and director of Santa Zeta. Absolutely love this movie. I guess we'll just start with the easy stuff. What kind of brought this movie together and what got the idea churning in your head to make this?
Yes, I wrote a script that I couldn't shoot because it was like 2 million and we only had like 300,000. And I've always wanted to, because I had an episode of child abuse in my family. I've always wanted to reflect that thing that happened in my family in a very genre way, like revenge, the joy of revenge, the unforgivable things, the speed over my grave thing, that kind of stuff. But I wanted to draw an arc so the audience could get deeper and deeper in the family. At the beginning, it's more like lightweight, entertaining, even a little cartoonish. But little by little, she's discovering what happens inside her, and I love the YouTube language. For me, it's like, because we didn't have money to have more characters, I thought that the audience could be the other character when she's vlogging in the YouTube style.
I think it also helps the tone, because the subject matter is dark for sure, but the YouTube vlogger kind of angle gives it sort of a kind of a lighter tone than something like this might have. Something kind of like a promising young woman sort of thing. It's a comedy, but not really. But it takes the edge off a little bit.
Yeah, and it gives her like the feeling that she's in control. I have a channel, I vlog, I edit my things, but she's not in control at all.
Yeah. And what? So you said you had a budget before you had the script. How does that work?
Well, I had some investors that only could give us like $300,000, and I wrote a script that if I wanted to do it right, it was like $2 million euros.
Oh,
So
so real quick, just so I'm clear, the investors basically invested on you. It's like whatever movie you want, you're cool, go for it, and it just happened to turn out to be this one.
no, I pitched them the first script.
Oh,
But I
okay.
didn't know it was going to be that expensive. So I talked to them. I said, I wrote this. I think it's good, and they loved it, but they couldn't give us more support. So I told them I have this story in the back of my head all the time, and I think we can have a great production value if we travel because it's an influencer, a travel influencer. So 3 continents, 18 dates of shooting, and we design it so well that because when it rains in LA, something happens. That that I think that the movie is like you have this value of production like traveling, but at the same time it's very easy to do because we were just 7 people, run and gun style guerrilla, and it was beautiful. It was an adventure shooting this way.
Yeah. There was that scene where she's looking for the Miley Cyrus star. Did you have to gain permits for that, or you're like, nope, we're getting the camera, we know what we're doing, and just getting what we can?
Yeah, we didn't ask for any permits. So if the movie sells in Spain or whatever, we're working with some lawyers for the clearance and maybe ask for permission after, or maybe because she's a YouTuber, we can like pixelate some things and we'll work it out. But the thing is that she were discovering the city, Seoul, Los Angeles, at the same time that the character was, because she had never flew out of Spain. So the main actress, the character, I told her, why don't we play this game as real as possible? The first time here in Hollywood Boulevard, in the Hall of Fame, in the Chinese theater, just play it like it's real for you.
Do you got speaking of that, going back with the lawyers and like blurring out stuff, do you have like backup footage, like in case like you can't get something cleared? And it's like, this is my first choice, but since we can't have that in the movie, we'll go ahead and plug this in instead.
No, I don't have backup footage. So maybe it's the first time and the last time you see this movie.
Well, move some, because usually like when you're working on low budget, because the movie kind of goes to a bunch of different places, as you said. Do you have any sort of like free production value? Like, oh, I knew someone that worked here, so like, it was a lot cheaper than it would have been otherwise had you just went to a random place where you didn't know anybody.
No, really, it was really, really run and gun. I was in Seoul like 4 days before the crew came, and I was scouting with a director of photography that I met by Instagram because he studied in New York Film Academy. He is South Korean, and I studied in New York Film Academy too. So we had the same language, but we were like film day by day discovering some of the sequences even are improvised. Like we saw in Seoul a church, and we said the actress get into that church and pray for you'll find a store with a very expensive thing in Seoul. So we didn't have that in the script. We have the arcs, but not the places. Some places we had fixed, but others we were discovering while shooting.
Oh, that's fun. And what was the pre-production on this like? Because like run and gun is like cool and all, but like people don't know their lines or they don't know what they're doing. You can run into a lot of trouble doing that.
Yeah, well, the pre-production was short, but because we were only 7 people, we were like a family and we were all doing the same stuff. So we knew what we wanted. As I said, the arc of the vlogging thing, because the vlogging was, I wanted to be real for you, as I said, and a YouTuber goes sometimes as pre-production, but sometimes it's discovering while she's walking. So we were taking more care of the light, the shots, and the locations in the classic narrative thing, not in the vlogging. In the vlogging, she was filming herself.
Yeah.
So we had 3 cameras at the same time.
What was the casting on this like? Because it nailed it as far as I can tell. Like all the characters and all the actors, and it just nailed their characters.
Yeah, thanks for saying that because I'm happy about. I have a theater company, and I'm an actor myself and a playwright, so I know many actors that we're like family for us. So Nekani, the main character, is my student because I teach writing for actors in Madrid, in Spain. But the other actors were working for me like for 20, 25 years in theater, so I know them very well. I wrote for them.
So that's interesting because like I've always heard of like Ben Affleck. He's like a real good, director, but he's also an actor. So actors like working with him. What is it about you having a background in acting that helps with your directing that just a director that doesn't have a background in acting might not have?
Yeah, I think acting is like a gift. If you're not a autistic actor, like I'm feeling all the things, you have to take care of me. I'm a sensitive species. If you're out of that, acting is a gift because you know that actors usually improve the lines and the dialogue, and usually improve the blocking of the director because they have these organic thing, like it's more natural, it's more true, it's more in the present here and now. So having an actor background, I can listen to the actors without fixating my I don't know, authority. No, I know what I want, and you have to be. So it's beautiful. It's like a little bit like in theater.
Yeah. And for this next question, if there's any spoiler stuff, we can push it towards the end. But usually with limited budget, you have your script. And then you start shooting and you get to a part and it's like, I would love to shoot the scene, but we don't have the time or money. Was there any stuff that you had to cut out of the script that didn't quite make it to the movie?
No, because I have to be honest with you, we started without a script. So I told them, I did it the other way around. I write, so for me, it was the first time I did this. I did some research and I thought, well, a lot of filmmakers did this, so I think we can do it. So for me, I had the arcs and what happened, but I was writing like 2 days in advance for the actors and the crew. And they were discovering the movie while I was discovering, because I knew what would happen, but not how. So, for example, in the death of Thaddeus Ginger with the hamburgers in the kitchen or whatever, I didn't know how until I was here in Los Angeles, and I thought, why not with hamburgers? Because it's like a fast food thing that could be a cultural wink to him. And that was also very funny because they trusted that I could find a solution, but I was writing like 2 days in advance and giving sequences all around. And for me, I love that way, but I prefer having a close script for the next movie.
Man, the more you talk about this, the more I'm scared for you because it seems like you just keep playing with fire like all through production. But I mean, it turned out well. Where's that kind of confidence come from? Because the movie turned out great, but like all the stuff you're saying as far as like production, there's like a ton of risk in what you're doing.
Yeah, because we knew each other so well that we have worked together for so many years that they knew we could do something that worked. Yeah. Excellent. We trusted each other, yeah. And she was my student for 3 years. She knew my style, but as I said, I think this is the last time I will do that. No need to suffer.
I mean, hey, if it works, maybe that's just your filmmaking style. What are you gonna do? Don't know, but it's gonna be awesome. Let's go. So what kind of release plans you got for this? I know it's planned at Slamdance pretty soon, and then are there any release plans after that?
We have now the San Diego Latino Film Festival in March, and then we have, because it's a Spanish movie, we have the Spanish television, national television. She's reviewing if she buys it, and then we'll do the releasing in just 1 weekend in Spain, and then platforms. We need distributors and whatever. But in Spain, I think we're gonna. They have much interest in buying the movie for platforms. But I'll be just 1 week in Spain in cinemas.
Yeah. What's the business? Because I'm not too familiar with the business end of making movies. But do you basically get these movies like sold before it's even done, or what kind of business stuff is in place, like behind the scenes sort of thing?
Yeah, for this movie, we didn't have any pre-sales, but in Spain, they have the movie before they shoot. They have it paid with state money and with distributors close. but this is so do-it-yourself, so independent that we just took the risk. And I show them to distributors, and they're like ready to distribute the movie. In Spain, before they shoot, they have all the money, all the pre-sales, everything for the most part of the production movies there.
Yeah. And also, like, so this, I mentioned Promising Young Woman, but this also has like a, not really the same look, but same kind of setup as like Ms. 45. Like anytime someone, or a thriller, a cruel picture, something like that, where like someone gets abused and then they, turn on their abuser and just like, wreak havoc, and it's awesome. Are there any movies like that kind of inspired this one?
For me, I was very, for me, it was like a mini Kill Bill, that you have a list of 3 people. But also anime, because I watch a lot of anime, and I was watching like Demon Slayer. Now I'm watching Frieren, and I like the way that they dilate time. So the slow motion, and when they stop the narration, for example, the black and white little stories that gives like purpose or even humane the villains. For me, more than movies, it was anime, like Japanese anime.
What was it about the anime that kind of speaks to you?
For me, it's the mix of languages. It's like they dare to mix a lot of weird stuff. So the YouTube vlogging, the black and white little stories, the classic narration, and how they dialogue these kind of different styles. At the beginning, it's like, oh, what am I watching? Even in some animes, at the end, you're very into it, and at the end, after the credits, they have these humorous sequences where it's like funny, even silly. I was very attracted to it, like Attack on Titan or Death Note, those mangas that afterward there were animes. I was very, very inspired by them.
Yeah. And how do you manage tone with this? Because like I said, the material is dark, but there's enough levity to it. But like anytime a movie kind of mixes like wildly different tones like this, it can go off the rails real easy. And then sometimes like with this movie, you just like nail it. Like, what's the secret sauce there?
I think it's like a lot of hours editing in the editing room. Because I had the whole movie in my head. I did this. It was, what kind of movie would I like to see with this material as an audience? So I was editing as if someone gave me this material, and what movie would I wanted to see. So I because the script was not. I wrote the script at the end when I finished the movie. When I finished editing, I wrote the script.
Yeah.
I just had sequences.
And what was I don't even know if you can talk about this, but what was this movie originally supposed to be? You said you had another script that was like 2 million and you couldn't do it. Or is that something you're just putting away and maybe do later?
Yeah, I'll do it later. I got translated to English, and it's a very different movie, but we love it too. So it's a little girl that disappears for 7 hours and then appears again in an eclipse, and it's about the family is like realizing that she's not her daughter, but a copy, and it's about how can I let her go, because she's not my daughter, and for something to happen. I work with astrophysicists and all that kind of people that told me about some theories of the universe is copying itself all the time, like a hard drive or a server. So sometimes with interruptions, like the multiverses and anything, you can end up with a copy, and it's very different, and it's like not sync, and then she gets ill. But for me, it was like, how can I let someone that I love go? And we'll see if we can do that.
Oh, shoot. If I come across $2 million, I'll send it to you and you start shooting. That sounds awesome. I do want to get into some spoilers, but before that, we'll just go ahead and wrap this part up. I just want to get a couple movie recommendation from you, either a movie that's personal to you or a movie that you think is really good and not enough people watch.
Movies. Well, yeah. It could be like classics or
It
like
can be anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It can be Spider-Man. It can be Vampire. It can be anything.
Yeah, for me, a movie that I go back again and again is The Third Man, like the Carl Reed, Orson Welles, because of the expressionism and the kind of complex villain, and even the composition of the shots. And I saw a movie that is really, really crazy, but I don't know the title. But it's if you can see that movie, it's new, but it's not in cinemas. I don't have the title here. Maybe I'll send it to you later, but because it's like a group theater in Germany that tours, and one of the actors falls in love with Nazism and Hitler and becomes like a Nazi while touring. So it's very controversial, it's very crazy, and it won like some awards because I came from United Kingdom, from Lincoln, and we were in a festival. We won like best movie and audience award, but he won the most challenging movie, and I hadn't seen that in years. It's really crazy, controversial, and you don't know exactly in the moral space that you are as an audience.
Excellent. And it looks like this will have its North American premiere on Saturday, February 21st, Slamdance, and it'll be playing on slamdancechannel.com from February 24th to March 6th. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Excellent. So if you're in North America, you can watch it, and then please do so, because the movie might not be that once it fully releases.
Yeah.
But Antonio, I absolutely love this movie, and congratulations, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Eric. It was great. I was watching your YouTube channel and the podcast, so I'll be watching you.
Disregard all that. But thanks.